Buff Nation?
That's what I said. Did it not come
You're
through?
muted. Let's try that again.
Buff
Let's
Nation.
try that again. Let's go. Merry Christmas, everyone. Jake, still back in the land of, I don't know, sadness.
NPC land.
Yes, the land of the NPCs.
I'm making it do out here, brother. I miss you guys, though. What is up, chat? What is up, everyone? Welcome into DNVR Buffs Primetime. We are presented by Illegal Pete's, everyone's go-to spot for burritos, buddies, and beers. And Merry Christmas indeed. Jordan Seaton signs his national letter of intent. We get one of the best commitments we've gotten in the Coach Prime era, man. How was your Christmas, Ryan?
It was great, man. It was great. I had a feeling once DJ Lundy was waiting so long to announce his commitment, or I guess his signing, that we might it might wait until Christmas. It might be a nice little Buff Nation Christmas present. For those of you who don't know, we had kind of been teasing this for, I guess, since signing day, because that's when at least I heard the news that DJ Lundy was going to be a Buff. And you know, there was a lot of panic that day, and I remember telling some people, like, don't worry, like there's good news coming. And I thought it was going to hit that day, and then it didn't come the next day, and it didn't come the next day, and then of course, you know, we finally get the Jordan Seaton signing on Friday, which was a nice, everyone could take a nice breath of fresh air, and then it keeps on rolling with DJ Lundy signing on Christmas. Jake, I am so excited about DJ Lundy. I think that he is arguably the highest quality transfer that Colorado has gotten in the Coach Prime era, not named Travis Hunter or Shedeur Sanders. And I'm saying might, because there's been some other really good players in there. There's been some really good players this week, or should I say this cycle? But DJ Lundy is a guy who, like I put out on Twitter, was honorable mention all ACC, was rated by PFF as the best run stopping linebacker in all of college football, and is just one of those players that you can trust. And that's something that Colorado has really lacked at the linebacker position. They got some good play for sure from a few different guys last year. I think Jawan Mitchell was the best, but linebacker is such a trust position. You just have to be able to say, like, I know he's going to be in the right place. And even if he doesn't always make the play, like you don't need him to make the play every play. As long as they're in the right position, they're going to funnel it so that someone else can make the play. DJ Lundy is always in the right place.
Yeah, man, you pretty much nailed it there. One of the best linebackers in the country, was a X factor for Florida State this year. Had 54 total tackles, 6 TFLs. He also had 2 sacks, and he had, I think it's 2 interceptions, or no, those are QB hits. Sorry, it's 2 passes defensed, 4 QB hits, or actually flip that. But anyways, this guy is a beast back there. As you mentioned, highest graded linebacker. According to PFF, you can make do what you will of PFF, but he's up there as amongst the very best. Just makes everything easier for guys in the front 7, man. I mean, when you've got linebackers flying to the ball that are very instinctual and just know how to be in the right place, make plays in the passing game. I saw a few clips of him just running down the field on wheel routes, covering guys. Like I mentioned, we need guys that can cover all over the field, not just in the secondary. We need some linebackers to make some plays in that department as well. And it seems like we're getting a player that caliber.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because I added this to my tweet knowing exactly the reaction that it would get, but I said FSU fans were super bummed that he hit the portal. And I meant that because I went back and read on signing day before anyone knew where he was committing. I went back and read all of the posts. Well, a ton of the posts from when he entered the portal, whether it was comments on the posts on Twitter, on the FSU message boards. And the overarching feeling was like, oh man, why is he entering the portal? Like this was about to be his defense next year. That was something that was said a lot. Oh, he was going to be the leader of the defense next year, like over and over and over again. People were really bummed. And then of course, now that he commits to Colorado, there's a lot of people changing. Oh, he didn't even play that much. He was only in there because of injury, blah, 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 blah. But trust me when I tell you that FSU fans were really upset. And I have a friend who is an FSU fan who reached out to me today and said, this is the first player that Colorado has gotten from FSU that really hurt me. And, obviously Omarion Cooper, a nice player, Bishop Thomas, still very young and developing and had his moments. But he said, this is the first one that really, really hurt to lose. So there you go. This guy is a dog.
He's an absolute dog. He's also kind of a two-way weapon, man. If you've seen the clip against him playing Louisiana State, LSU, he has the tackle where he just shoots right through the line and picks it up behind the line of scrimmage right on the goal line. And then on that same goal line, when FSU is on offense, he runs in the ball. We've talked about this Rick Ross package, how the importance of running the ball for this team and getting better at that this season. He has got 4 career touchdowns. 3 of them are on the ground, one of them as a receiver. He just seems like an all-around weapon. He started like 13 games for this team over the last 2 seasons as well. He's played in over 40 games, just a very experienced player and someone who's going to help on both sides of the ball. And this team just got better with his commitment.
Yeah, you are very high on his two-way ability. Do you think that that's one of the reasons why DJ Lundy is a Colorado Buffalo? Because this is two-way you?
That is true. I mean, maybe. We saw Bishop Thomas kind of getting in there, another former FSU guy, some two-way action. I mean, the offensive line is better. That was obviously why they went in that department and put Shane Cokes and Bishop Thomas on the offensive line last year. But I don't know, just having more versatile players is always a good thing, man. And if you have this weapon, we hope and we pray that they're going to be much better at running the ball, especially in short yardage next year. But if this is going to be your short yardage guy, it's a 4th and 1, or if it's, you got to score on the goal line or something, and the running backs for some reason aren't getting it done. This guy's 6'1", 244. This is a bowling ball in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Should we tie a bow on the Jordan Seaton saga once and for all?
Oh, it's finally over. It's finally over, man. Right after basically an hour after we finished the show on Fridays when he signed his NLI.
Yep. Yeah, it was what a ride it was. And if you remember, like Friday, we felt like we had enough information to call the race, like we're calling a presidential election. It felt like, enough precincts were reporting that Jordan Seaton was going to be a Colorado Buffalo. But man, what a sigh of relief when it finally came across. There's so many people out there just like literally bows completely locked and loaded in the bows and arrows locked and loaded, just waiting to fire them at Colorado for losing Jordan Seaton. And so like that was like my first reaction is like, oh man, some really disappointed people out there that were just ready to unload on Colorado for losing Jordan Seaton. But beyond that, just you can't overstate how big this is. And I would make the case, you almost always would rather have seen someone play in college. And so it's hard to project at this level. But I think you can make a pretty strong case that Jordan Seaton, even as a true freshman, is a better left tackle than anyone Colorado could have gotten in the portal.
I mean, you're spot on with that. The portal was rich in O-linemen this year. There were a lot of guys who pretty young too, 2022, 2023 kids. We of course had Caden Green, the Oklahoma guy that we were looking at for a while, and Chase Basantis, guys like that. But you said it. I mean, Jordan Seaton's got all the prototypical skills to be a dominant left tackle in the NFL, not just at college football. I mean, this is a very young player, of course. But when you're a 5-star, you kind of have those expectations put on you. And he's just going to be a rock on that offensive line, man. He's a piece you can build around for the next 3 to 4 years. And this year, automatically, they get better, and is probably their best tackle right off the rip, too. So it's an impact that goes beyond that. It also goes to instilling that nastiness and that mentality that this team just needed last year. That toughness along the line of scrimmage, that nastiness, just finishing blocks. Jordan Seaton has that. I can't wait to watch him, man. I think it's going to be pretty fun watching this offensive line go to work this next season.
Oh, man. That sounds so great to me. It's been a while since Colorado had an offensive line that you could be excited to watch. And I would say most teams in the country don't feel that way about their offensive line. So There's a couple of more interesting things that could go down, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the transfer portal here in a minute. But you just have to feel so good that Jordan Seaton is a Buff, and once again, credit to you, Jake. You never wavered. You
Thank you.
always felt like he would come through in the end, and I have to say, now that the dust has settled, Jordan Seaton trolling Nebraska is an all-time great online move for me. I wasn't able to enjoy it in the moment because I wasn't in the right mindset to accept what was happening. But looking back on it, it's like, holy shit, what an incredible little thing to throw in there. Like, just to have Nebraska fans talking about Jordan Seaton the entire next day, like they could get him.
That was the part that tipped me off too, man. I mean, come on. He didn't even have Nebraska in his top schools. He never really mentioned them. And then we go on the Grass Sink Live on Instagram, and that's the first team he mentions. It was too obvious for me in that moment. But yeah, a nice little cherry on top too, because I don't know, anytime you get to twist the knife on those guys, it always feels a little good.
Oh man, it was so good. Then you got like CSU fans who were like celebrating early that Jordan Seaton wasn't going to be a Buff. It was in the end, even though I suffered through the whole saga, they suffered more, and that's all that matters.
They did. Oregon fans, Tennessee fans have also suffered now because of this, which of course makes it all feel a little bit greater. As it stands right now, the Buffs end the early signing period. Again, only 6 commits. Jordan Seaton being the lone 5-star. You got 3 4-stars and 2 3-stars. When you look at the class rankings, of course, they're bottom of the Big 12, but they have the highest average player rating. I think as it stands right now, they still have the second overall or the second highest average player rating in terms of recruiting classes. I think it's just Georgia above them still. Looking through it now, that appears to be the case. 93.1 for the Buffs, Ryan.
Yep. And again, it's just one of those things where it's like, I've come to learn that when the two sides of a coin, or the two sides of a situation like it is with Coach Prime, where people either love him or so strongly hate him, there's always going to be a way to twist the information in the way that you want. But like, this one is such a perfect one. It's like Colorado has the second highest average star rating in the country. And so, if you're pro Coach Prime, you're saying, look at this. He said quality over quantity, and he went and had the second best quality of recruit of anyone in the country. And then the other people are saying, oh yeah, well, small sample size can be boosted up, and it's just boosted up by Jordan Seaton. Like, we know the correct side of this, which is that this was the plan. And so regardless of whether you can agree or disagree with the plan, you can't act like this was like some accident and the class just fell apart. This was what Coach Prime wanted to do, and it's what he said he was going to do, and then he followed through on it. But to me, the wildest part is the way that people are trying to downplay the transfer portal, as if you don't have to recruit transfers, as if they don't matter, as if being number one in the transfer portal isn't worth anything, so on and so forth. Like, I love the average star rating of the freshmen, and I think there's a reason why they do that. It's because they don't want to bring in freshmen that they're going to have to wait 3 years, because they don't think that anyone's going to wait 3 years. And I think that part of it might actually be genius and way ahead of its time. So you bring in a Draylon Miller, who you think can make an impact right away, a Cam Michael, who is so fast that you know that he can make impacts in ways. Obviously, Jordan Seaton's going to be your left tackle right away. Well, there's half the class right there that you think are going to be immediate impact players. And the other guys can as well. But you do that by design, and then you go fill your needs with portal players, and Colorado also has the most 4-star transfers of anyone in the country as well. So it's not like they're only loading it up with quantity, which they of course are loading it up with quantity. They're also loading it up with quality just the same, more than anyone else is doing it when it comes to 4-star transfers.
Right. And I think that we talked about this last week, how, how Coach Prime's going about it, how it's focusing on the transfer portal, and how a lot of people are saying, you can't do that. You have to focus on high school recruiting at some point. And I'll throw it back to you here in a second. But just thinking about it more, it feels like if Colorado were to go that route, they'd end up with this like gap in their talent on the roster because they focused so hard on the portal the last 2 years. If you just flip to high school recruiting, especially this season, you kind of end up with a weak like middle of the line. You're still waiting on freshmen. You're not really focusing on the transfer portal. Like this all started last year when they focused on the transfer portal. You can't quit now. You can't just go to high school recruiting after 1 year. You got to keep on going to the transfer portal because of what you started to do and just filling in those gaps now. You need players that can play right away and immediately. And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand when they look at the high school recruiting and they go, oh, they need to do it more. I don't know if you feel the same or differently, but that's just how I've kind of come to conclusions with it all.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is that they've balanced it out. Not entirely. Like, they're certainly heavy on juniors and seniors. I don't find that to be a problem. In fact, I find that to be a feature, not a bug. Now, it does rely on you being able to do this consistently. But what have we seen? Back-to-back years, Coach Prime is going to have one of, if not the best transfer portal classes in the country. So what's to say you can't keep doing this? You, of course, want to add high school players as well and keep filling in the pipeline. But, there, I've mentioned this before. There's, an old phrase, which is get old and stay old, meaning you want the oldest possible players, as long as they're still high quality, on the field for you, because you do go from being a boy to being at least close to being a man when you're, at least you go from a boy to a young adult by the time you're a senior in college versus when you're a freshman in college. And, you look at these teams, especially teams that overachieve based off of the expectations that people had for them. A perfect example would be like TCU 2 years ago. Well, what did they have? They had dozens of seniors who were contributing for that team that had gone through it all, at the college level. And, it's one of the reasons why we kept saying Colorado's going to beat them, is because it's like, well, they graduated like all of the players who made them so good. So, the idea that you should be heavier on high school recruiting is just backwards to me when you're trying to win right away. Everyone points and says, Georgia does it this way, and Alabama does it this way, and Texas does it this way. It's like, well, yeah, they're able to get old and stay old and focus on, high school recruiting, because all they're doing is bringing in 4- and 5-star players, developing them, and then eventually playing them once they're at that older age. And of course, there's going to be guys who play younger, but it's the idea was to win now from nothing, to take a completely empty cupboard and try and stock it. And that's where people are missing on what Colorado's doing, is like, this isn't the strategy forever. This is the strategy right now, because you're trying to go from being bad to being really good. And you can't do that by playing high school players.
Right. And someone had a comment too. They've done a really good job with these transfers of kind of, I don't want to say staggering them, because I do feel like they have focused a lot on players who can play now or contribute now, especially on the in the trenches, front seven, and offensive line. But they have done a good job bringing in younger transfers. I mean, Cordell Russell was just a 2023 recruit last year. It's something we talked about last week with this receiving core, how it's built not just for now, but for the future. And, you could say that at a few other positions, the secondary for sure. But, there are some gaps that need to be filled. And I think that if they keep going through the transfer portal, these are gaps that can be filled quite easily. I mean, still the number 2 transfer portal class in the country. 18 commits is, I think, the most in the country at this point, at least among the most relevant schools, the top 50 or so. Average player rating is 88.47. Ole Miss has the top class and top average player rating. The 88 is pretty up there. There are a lot of schools who have high 80s and 90s as well. Overall, we're still sitting at number 21. It's all looking pretty good right now, man. I really can't complain about anything that Coach Prime has done to build this roster or fill it out this season.
I completely agree. And obviously, Ole Miss gets the only 5-star transfer available. So that's going to boost up theirs. But they, I believe, are the only team that's in the 90s for average rating. And they have obviously cleaned up. Like, Ole Miss has done an incredible job. But Colorado still, with 6 4-stars, one more than them. Obviously, you add in the 5-star. and you take that. But I assume DJ Lundy is also going to be a 4-star transfer, so that'll get Colorado up to 7 and may actually bump them back up or close to the number 1 transfer class on 247. And Jake, I don't think they're done.
No, we're not even close to done. We're going to go through the rest of this period. Of course, the portal is still open. And then we're going to go through the entire spring period. So after spring ball, I'm sure some guys will leave and more guys will come in. The portal will get replenished. It's just a whole cycle. We're only just starting this thing, too. All right.
Yes, sir.
So they changed the traffic log on me. So shout out to our friends at Hestra Job Gloves. Hestra Job Gloves are for when you just need to get shit done or when you're outside in the cold and you need to protect your hands, even if you're just tailgating. Check out Hestra Job Gloves. They're warm, they're comfortable, they're built well, and made with high-end materials. Also great if you're doing DIY projects or you work outside. Visit hestrajob.us. Use the code DNVR20 to get 20% off your next purchase. And anyone looking to supply their team with high-quality work gloves at a bulk rate can email Josh Jacobson at josh@hestrausa.com. And then game time, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, shout out to Game Time. They did change it up on us last minute, huh?
Yep. Yeah.
Game Time is the best place to get last minute tickets. I saw some crazy deals for people if you wanted to head to the Broncos game the other night. Obviously, you might have had a bad time if you did that, but the point stands that Game Time is the place to get your tickets if you're jumping in at the last minute. And if you use the code BUFFS, so that's Buffs, when you sign up and you create your account, you're going to get $20 off your first purchase, which is a nice little start. But you're already going to be saving so much money because Game Time rewards you for procrastinating. One of the few places in life that you get rewarded for that. Unlike Christmas presents, which made for a eventful weekend for me because I procrastinate everything, and that was not fun.
Same, bro. Same. How was your Christmas?
It was great, man. It was weird because for the first time in a while, Allie and I weren't together, so that sucked. And then my sister and her husband were sick, so they didn't come. And then my grandma wasn't feeling well, so she didn't come. So it was like a really, really lean Christmas. But other than that, spent some time with my mom and dad and got some cool gifts. Did you see the Buffs shoes that I posted?
I did. Here, do you want to see what I got?
Yeah, let's see.
Far away from me. Let me grab them real quick. These are definitely going to come in handy later in the year, especially one particular game in the season. Here we go. I can't wait. I can't wait to bust these things out because I'm ready, man. I'm ready for 2024.
Hey, boom. Let's go. That's
yes,
sick.
Sir.
Those look good on you, bro.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
I have to say, those specific glasses, I've yet to see someone who they don't look good on.
They are some of the best sunglasses out there, man. I love the how it's one frame type of thing too.
Yep. Careful now. Anyways, yeah, it was a great Christmas. How about you?
Yeah, fantastic. We had a feast last night, some surf and turf, had a roast, had some crab. It was delicious. And then just lounging all day, man. Great day of football yesterday, except for the last game, I guess, but it was fun. So can't complain, man. Happy to be home for a bit.
Love it. Love it.
All right, let's get into our latest portal update here. Let's start with this tweet from Coach Prime. He put this out this morning or about 3 hours ago. Said, dang, with the eyeball emojis, I see the portal doing the bank head bounce. Just when I thought Santa was on his way back to the North Pole, he dipped off. Santa, please drop another DT, cornerback, linebacker, and one more pass rusher to Boulder. I believe, Santa. I believe.
I love it. I love it. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Jake, I think this is a little bit in reference to the whole second time transfer rule opening up.
Yeah, this is crazy, man. I mean, college football, these rules just get made up on the fly, basically. But they're taking away the waivers for guys who have already transferred twice for this upcoming season. Obviously, kind of sucks for, our situation. Tyler Brown would have been very, very useful on this offensive line for the Buffs this year. But we won't have to deal with any of that. We can go get whoever we want out of the portal. Guys can enter the portal and transfer as they please at this point. It kind of feels like this is how it should have been, but it also, again, is just another, like, you're opening Pandora's box here. Like, you got to do this again next year moving forward, right? You can't just keep waffling back and forth.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going to happen here. We had a group chat, and I said in there, it's one of those things that I think is good for college football players, but bad for college football. And that's fine. Like, in the end, it should be about the players more than anything, but it is going to be crazy to basically just make everyone a free agent every single year. I think Colorado will benefit from it because they have the portal king. And that's what Coach Prime has shown himself to be so far. Like, he's going to dominate the transfer portal. Jake, there's an underrated part of this, though, that I haven't heard anyone talking about yet, which is that Colorado is currently up against the scholarship limit. I honestly don't know how many spots they have, if they even currently have any spots. Because of this, it's going to make it a lot easier for Colorado to open up scholarships if they need to do that. We'll talk about a couple players here in a second, but like, if they can get Scourton from Purdue, they're going to be able to do it now because they know that, okay, well, we can ask a guy who transferred in last year who maybe doesn't have a role right now to transfer, or encourage them to transfer and open up a scholarship. You're not going to hit 100% on those unless you are willing to just like show guys the door. But a lot of times if you go talk to a player and you say, hey, look, we just don't have a role for you. We think it's in your best interest to enter the portal. Well, they'll do it, except if they were in that situation where they knew they were going to have to sit out a year if they transfer. It's hard to tell a guy to say, like, hey, you're not going to be able to play here. Go transfer somewhere else where you're definitely not going to be able to play because you're going to have to sit out. With this opening up, Colorado is in a position, again, where they can clear scholarships. It's an underrated part of this second-time transfer rule. At the same time, there's also a risk that someone you don't want to transfer could potentially enter the portal.
Yeah, I've got some thoughts on this too. We'll get to Nick Scourton and these guys here in just a second. But like Nebraska, they're like at 95 players or something. They're 10 over the scholarship limit, I think, right now. I almost think that's kind of a good thing, though. Like, you have the second portal period to go through. You get to see what you have at spring ball, and then you can evaluate from there, and then you can kind of make the tough calls, basically what Coach Prime did last spring. Tell guys, look, it's probably not going to work out here. You're probably not going to play much. You can stay if you want, but that's just the situation. It's probably best if you actually hit the portal. Just to get more looks at guys, man. I mean, just fill it up. See how many guys that you can take on, who's willing to come in here for spring football. If it doesn't work out, we shake hands and part ways. But there's going to be even more players entering the portal this next cycle in April. So take some more bites at the apple. Just see what else is out there.
I completely agree. I also was curious, Jake, do you think that when Nebraska has to tell 10 players to leave in the spring, that those players are going to end up on Jason Whitlock's show?
Definitely not. Definitely
do you think there'll be like an AP article where they drive to some community college to talk to a scrub about what it felt like to get kicked off of Matt Rule's team?
No, and I don't think we're going to be getting Hayes Fawcett graphics for every player that enters the portal from Nebraska either.
How about an athletic article with anonymous coach quotes mixed in with player quotes from players that most Colorado fans had never heard of?
Nope. Only here.
All right.
It only happens here.
I just wanted to check in. Yeah, I was just curious.
I mean, we're just getting started with this offseason. I'm sure we haven't seen the last hit piece on Coach Prime and the Buffs. All right. Nick Scourton. If you've been on the timeline, if you've been on Twitter today, this name's been kind of floating out there. He has entered the portal, or he's been in the portal, or declared his intent at least. He was a 4-star player in the 2022 class, 6'3", 258. He's rated a 4-star transfer. Or no, that was just a 247 rating, sorry. But this guy was highly, highly productive last year. Played on the edge, had 50 total tackles, 15 tackles for a loss, 10 sacks, 3 passes defense, 1 forced fumble. I believe he was the sack leader in the Big Ten this last year.
Yeah, dude, this guy is a beast. 10 sacks and 15 tackles for loss? and 50 tackles. To be honest, Jake, when I saw those stats on the tweet, I thought those were career stats. And I was still going to be like, damn, that's a nice player.
No, this guy is legit. He can come in and contribute right away. Coach Prime says he needed an edge, so we start there with him. Let's go to another edge. This guy is
Wait,
from
really
USC.
quick.
Go ahead.
Before you move on from Nick Scourton, 3 days ago, Nick Scourton was liking Coach Prime tweets on Twitter.
Yep. Yes,
So
he has.
That, that's, you don't want to get too crazy, but just, shows there might be some interest there.
Yep, for sure. Corey Foreman's the next guy. He's another edge. He was at USC, was the second overall recruit, second defensive line recruit, third overall recruit in the 2021 class. He was a 5-star player back then, was listed at 6'4", 265. He's trimmed down to 235 now. He's played in 26 career games, only played in 3 games for the Trojans last year, which could be why he's entering the portal. Played in 23 games the 2 years before that. Defensively, this is in his career, 25 total tackles, 4.5 TFLs, only 2.5 sacks. Those both came his freshman season in 2021, and 1 pass is defensed. But he's already rated as a 4-star transfer. He entered the portal on December 18th. Another high-quality edge player that could be in the targets for Coach Prime and the Buffs.
There you go. I love that Coach Prime is just like, he has no problem telling us what the needs are, what the targets are. So it's like, it's much easier for us to narrow down what players we're zeroing in on.
Exactly. Makes all of our lives a lot easier. Another guy, if you've been on Twitter and have been kind of following Buff stuff, his name has come up quite a bit. That's Isaiah Hamilton. He stated his intent to enter the portal a few days ago. On 3 had that. He has not yet officially entered the portal, but he's a Houston cornerback, was a 2023 recruit. I think this might have been a JUCO recruit, actually. He's only played 1 year at Houston. That was last season.
He came from Texas State.
There you go. Yep. So he played there last year, though, for the Cougars. 50 total tackles, 3.5 tackles for a loss, 4 interceptions with 1 pick six, 4 passes defense, and a forced fumble. Let me see his measurements here. Those are his old ones. But Isaiah Hamilton is definitely someone to keep an eye on, it sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've had so much success with Houston transfers. It's so funny, like, going into a conference with them next year. I wonder if that's going to be a little piece of a budding rivalry there between Colorado and Houston. Even last year, Colorado hit up Houston. This year, they're hitting them up quite a bit. Zay Hamilton would be a nice addition. With our guy, Preston, we use the term disruptor. And I think it's the same thing for Zay Hamilton if they were able to get him, like, just a disruptor on defense. Makes things difficult for the offense. Finds himself in the right place at the right time. 4 interceptions is no fluke. He's getting his hand on the ball, breaking up passes. Very versatile in where you can use him in the defensive secondary. And just another one of those guys, like, he makes things difficult. He's a disruptor.
Yeah, at Texas Southern, he played in 17 career games. He was a 2022 SWAC first-team all-conference player. He had 6 interceptions that season, 2 pick sixes. He also had 15 passes defended. So he had great production at a lower level, came up to Houston, played pretty well, and now he's in the Buff sights. One more Houston guy. I think we talked about this guy last week, and it's a defensive lineman, Jamari Caldwell, listed at 6'1", 325. Again, we talked about him last week. He's still hanging around there in the portal. He's been rated a 4-star transfer by 247. He was another JUCO kid, came into Houston a few years ago and has played very, very well. Played in 9 games in 2022, damn near 300 snaps. Pulling up his stats now. Last year, 26 total tackles, 8.5 tackles for a loss, 6.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and a blocked kick. Again, this is a 6'1", 325 guy. This isn't a pass rusher. This is an interior defensive lineman doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, another one that would be really nice to add if you're just going to, go ahead and just raid Houston of everything they have. I think, again, you'd like to add a little more beef on the inside. This guy would definitely be that. Obviously, we're still keeping an eye on Chris McClellan, the Florida transfer who visited. It'd be interesting if they get back to visits this weekend, or if it's going to be another kind of holiday weekend with New Year's Eve and New Year's coming up. But I would not be surprised if you start getting some visits from a few of these guys that we've mentioned here.
For sure. I think that we're probably lining up for a pretty big visiting weekend this weekend for what it's worth. Next guy, Tackett Curtis. He was a 2023 four-star linebacker. He committed to USC and played pretty well as a true freshman. Played in all 12 games, had 40 total tackles, 4 TFLs, 2 sacks, 1 pass defense, and 1 forced fumble. Very, very young player, played very well as a freshman, and another linebacker. So someone at a position of need. I think he's put on a few pounds since he was a recruit. So another guy to keep on the short list here.
All right. We'll keep an eye on
him. Next guy. This is a defensive back named A.J. Harris. Former Georgia Bulldog, was a 2023 recruit, was one of the top recruits in that class, actually. Was a 4-star, 41st overall player, 3rd overall cornerback. Was listed at 6'1", 180. He's beefed up to 190 since he showed up in Athens. Played in 7 games. Didn't really play too much. Stats-wise, didn't have anything that really pops off the screen. But a very young, very talented player. Perhaps another piece for this secondary.
All right. Feels like there's still plenty of talent, and I mean, at any moment now, there could just be a huge influx of talent into the portal with this second transfer rule.
Well, that, and I mean, the schools are wrapping up bowl games now too. I mean, the portal's going to close, and we're not even going to have playoff games going. So those teams, we've seen some guys make some tough decisions. Obviously, the guy we just talked about, but I think that once that spring portal comes along, those teams, especially the better teams in the country who are playing later in bowl season, are going to have a lot more entries, and would obviously be highly beneficial to CU. Next guy, another Alabama defensive lineman. His name is Isaiah Hastings. Did not play in 2023. Was a redshirt freshman. Was a 2022 recruit. Was a 4-star player, top 140 player. He's already been given a 3-star transfer rating, so pretty similar to Anquin Barnes, a young guy who came in, didn't play much. Listed at 6'4", 290 though, from Canada.
Canada to Bama. All right. There you go. I think you can kind of like build a list in your head of, okay, these are the top targets. These are the guys that, you can add to the list behind them. There's also an opportunity of like, we'll look back to these guys depending on what transfers out we may have with the new rules.
For sure. I got one more guy for you, a guy that we talked about quite a bit last year. Miles Rouser, the safety, was a 4-star safety, I believe in 2022 it was. He committed to Campbell, played there for 1 season, entered the portal last year. He could be another, like you just said, a player, taking advantage of this 2-time transfer rule now that he doesn't have to get a waiver. Was a very, very productive player at Campbell, went on and had a great season at New Mexico State. They obviously won 10 games, had a very successful season for them. He had 69 total tackles, 1 interception, 3 passes defense, 1 forced fumble, played in 15 games for them. A player that just seems like he's ascending. He's done it at these lower levels he's gone to at Campbell and now at New Mexico State. Seems like he's Power 5 ready. Was a 4-star recruit.
Yeah, I'd love to know more about his story and his path and kind of what led him to Campbell and then to New Mexico State. But like you said, I think the perfect word there is ascending, and a guy who could definitely take advantage of this rule to try and take it up another level and come play in the Big 12.
So there you go. That's about 8, 9, 10 names to keep an eye on as we move forward here. Again, we still have, what's today, the 26th. I think we only have a few more days of the portal being open, but of course you can recruit through that. So stay tuned. Shout out to our friends at Backus and Shanker. If you get hurt, you know who to call. Smash the 2. Backus and Shanker helps Colorado families win. They've been doing it for more than 25 years. No fees to speak to them about your case, no fees while they work on your case, and no fees unless they win your case and win money for you. They've got more than 30 lawyers, 100 people on staff, and they've got neighborhood offices all over the city. They've won over $1 billion for their clients, and they help with all kinds of injury cases where you weren't at fault: car accidents, motorcycle, rideshare, pedestrians, trucks. Even if you're injured at work, you know who to call. Smash the 222-2222 to find out if you have a case for free. Backus and Shanker wins.
Also, shout out to our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook. I had the ultimate DraftKings Sportsbook dub this weekend, Jake, which is my team lost, the Broncos, but my DraftKings success in the game was so good that it took a little bit of the sting out of the loss. I went 7 for 7 on prop bets in the Broncos game, which is crazy considering they played like shit, and all of the bets were pro Broncos bets. But that's just the way that you can do things over at DraftKings Sportsbook. I had a ton of fun yesterday, getting in on the games, betting on the games. It always just makes things a little bit more fun, you know. Life's a little more fun when you have some skin in the game. So get over to DraftKings and use the code DNVR to get in on $150 instantly in bonus bets. And here comes the disclaimer. Buckle up. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/football for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources.
Well done.
Shout out DraftKings.
At least someone won this weekend on the Broncos game, man.
Yep, I had the good old withdraw night. You know, it's a good night when you're pulling money out of the account.
Absolutely. Well done. Well done. All right. Last thing I really have to talk about here is just basically it kind of ties into the Jordan Seaton thing and what we saw, because obviously he was on Well Off. It was kind of a well off production, this whole thing, it seems, concluding on Friday with them taking Jordan Seaton around Miami, obviously kind of spoiling him a bit, but kind of just bringing him into the culture here. Like, that's just what it's like at Colorado. I mean, if you're going to come here and you're a great player, you're going to have plenty of NIL opportunities. So he's already getting a taste of that. But Bucky, man, this guy has been working his ass off, and he's trying to blow up so many of these guys' YouTube channels. Obviously, Travis and Shador are already there. But he was working on Jordan Seaton. Tyler Brown's made one. Brandon Davis Swain, another incoming freshman who's trying to blow his up. But this feels all like a secret weapon for Colorado. I mean, not only do you have true NIL opportunities, but you have someone like Bucky and Darius and Neely who can give you instant pop for your brand right away with these YouTube channels. And just, it's different in college football now, and they're kind of spearheading this movement.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. Bucky has been an incredible piece of the puzzle for Colorado. And what they are is not just a college football program, but also a marketing machine. And you said it, like, you become a Colorado Buffalo, your brand instantly skyrockets. I'm sorry, Jordan Seaton is amazing and he's a fantastic football player, but there's nowhere else where he would be as famous as he already is as a kid who is in high school, as a highly heralded recruit, but he's not going on national television to make his commitment without, Colorado's connections. Bucky tweets out, "Hey, let's get Jordan Seaton's YouTube channel to 1,000 subscribers." Jake, it was there in less than 30 minutes. 1,000 subscribers in less than 30 minutes. I haven't checked to see what it's at now. But Jordan Seaton said this would be the best Christmas present for me at like 1 p.m. on Christmas Eve. And by 1:30, he got his Christmas present that he wanted. So it's just unbelievable. And the truth is, obviously, the big deals are always going to come from places like Google, who are doing a deal with Shiloh and Shador. Who else did they just get? They just landed another one that I was like, CVS. They're getting big brand deals from like name brands, and that's where you're going to make your real money in NIL. But if you can have some almost like passive income from creating YouTube videos and just posting on your channels, which a lot of these guys have been able to achieve, it's just another, another feather in the cap of why you come to Colorado. It sounds like Seaton's already over 5,000 subscribers. And it should be easy for him. He keeps posting. He's going to keep adding subscribers. So these guys are doing really, really special things. And I say these guys meaning Bucky and Darius and Neely, and helping these guys build something that can last them. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, man, for sure. It's a unique opportunity. No one else really has this in college football. And you can kind of see what's coming with this program with Coach Prime and just what they're trying to do with NIL and trying to build these guys' brands. I mean, they're unprecedented right now. On Christmas Eve, Coach Prime quote tweeted Brandon Davis Swain, who is, asking Buff Nation to blow up his YouTube. He had 93 subscribers at the moment that Coach Prime quote tweeted this. Pulling up Brandon Davis Swain's YouTube page now, 1.36K. That's in 2 days. Jordan Seaton's gone like over 30,000 followers on Instagram. His YouTube's blown up, as you mentioned. You can check out Brandon Davis Swain at Brandon Davis 276 on YouTube. Do you have Seaton's YouTube?
Yeah, Seat is at Big Time 77.
So there you go. Subscribe to the guys. Tyler Brown just put up another video as well, kind of just detailing his off-season training. So you can go check that out on his channel. But it's different in Colorado, man. No one else is doing this. Literally, no one else is doing this.
Yeah, they don't know how. And two, they don't have the numbers. Like Coach Prime, obviously, Georgia and Bama have huge fan bases, but they're not on YouTube and on social media the same way that CU fans have been, especially YouTube. Coach Prime has been pushing fans to YouTube for a while. I don't know if that was like an intentional plan on his part, but obviously with Well Off, even going back to like the Barstool series that they did, even I think they did a Bleacher Report thing. All of this was based on YouTube, or a lot of it is based on YouTube. And so you've taught your fans that YouTube is a place to go. And we've noticed it even like, obviously there's so many of you guys who have hopped on this show since Coach Prime came, but like it used to be like Twitter was where the masses always were. And I think with Coach Prime, it's totally different. Like the bulk of, people who are looking for Coach Prime content are on YouTube, and that's exponentially more valuable than people being on Twitter.
No doubt, man. I saw someone, I won't say who it was, but someone that I listen to their podcast every now and then posted, one of those stupid tweets again, like, high school recruiting sucks, blah, blah, blah. And I saw someone replied to him and said, you need to go on YouTube if you actually want to learn about what Coach Prime's doing here. And he sarcastically replied, but it's like, no, man, like Coach Prime owns YouTube. Like if you're not watching Well Off, if you're not watching the pregame show, or even some of these players' channels, you really don't know what's going on here. You just don't.
Yep. Amen.
All right. I saw someone said Baby T.O. You can check out his YouTube channel too. I don't have that one in front of me, but go to his Twitter. I'm sure you can pull it up there. Shout out to our great friends over at Olipop. Olipop's a new kind of soda. They can help you improve your gut health. It's also better for you than regular soda. It has 9 grams of prebiotics in every can. Also only 2 to 5 grams of sugar from natural sources. And they've got tons of flavors. They got your classic cola. They got your root beers, cream sodas, orange soda, grape soda. They even get a little experimental. So tons of stuff for you to try there. You can check them out in over 22,000 stores across the country, including King Soopers, Safeway, Walmart, Target, Whole Foods, and Sprouts. Or go online to drinkolipop.com. Use the code DNVR20, and you can get 20% off your next order. Shout out to Olipop.
Also, shout out to Shady Rays. I got a couple different pairs of Shady Rays for Christmas. Love Shady Rays. Tons of different styles. And the best thing about them to me is the customer service. If your pair gets lost, stolen, or broken, they'll just re-up you right away because they want you to be rocking those Shady Rays for life. So use the code DNVR at shadyrays.com for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades, rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. Also, I got a DM that said, "What metal shirt are you wearing?" It's actually not a metal band. It's just our delicious friends over at Illegal Pete's. So there you go. It's I actually love this shirt. I used to have a shirt
Let's go.
in this font of Death Clock. Did you ever watch
Yep.
that show?
Yes, I did.
Of course you watch that show. It's right up your alley. But that show is hilarious. It's the only other shirt I've had in this font.
I had a few shirts in high school that looked like that. Multiples.
I love it.
I can't wait to sport that one when I get back. All right, can you do questions for me here?
Yeah, I got you. First question from Get Real Cinema. DJ Lundy equals Aubrey Miller from GSU. Good comp?
I mean, so my exposure to Aubrey Miller was not very much. Obviously, the Celebration Bowl and the SWAC title game, and he played pretty well in those. He was obviously a very productive player. I can't remember if he got drafted. I think he was undrafted or picked at the very, very end. But another guy who was highly productive and just found the football. Aubrey Miller is listed at 6'2", 225, so body type's not so much, but production-wise, probably. I mean, they just found the ball. Aubrey Miller was a heat-seeking missile, had over 100 tackles in his last season at JSU. So I'm about it. I can get on board with it.
Yeah. I mean, to me, there's a lot of players that you could look at in terms of the impact, and whoever you want to choose. One thing that I'll say is people get used to the NFL where you need these like insane linebackers who can do so many different things, and you're asking them to drop into coverage, and of course you're doing that at the college level too, but having a true stud run stuffing linebacker in college is exponentially, in my opinion, more valuable than it has become in the NFL. These are the guys who become like legends, the Nate Landmans, who everyone remembers because they're just these hard-nosed players who make big plays, big hits, all that stuff. DJ Lundy is absolutely one of those guys where it's just like he's going to become a fan favorite because he's just going to rack up big plays for this team.
For sure. Can't wait to watch him.
Also hit that like button while you're here.
And subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Boom. From Chris. Has the spring game date been released? No.
No, not yet. We're yearning for it too, bro.
Next one from Jay. Do y'all know anything about the new uniforms?
Wish I did.
Yeah, I haven't dove into that yet. We've had so much going on with recruiting that you got to use your questions wisely. But I'll say this: everyone that has had any sort of peek at them is really excited about them. So that's good.
Let's go. Can't wait. Do you think we get a spring game reveal potentially?
I doubt it.
Save it for week 1 or maybe even just week 2 against Nebraska, really, I guess.
Yeah. Yep. All right. From Eric. Jake and RK, how much longer is this transfer cycle open?
Okay. Give me a minute here.
It would be like January 7th.
I'm trying to remember when we opened. I think it was December. Here, I've got it. Monday, December 4th. So Tuesday, okay. January 2nd. So a week from tomorrow, the portal will close. You can no longer enter. Of course, if you are already in by that point, you can go on visits, extend your recruiting however long you feel you need to.
Yep, there you go. And that answers that next question. You just have to enter by that day, and then, they can trickle in for however long after that.
Yep. And then the second window I'm trying to find here. April 16th to April 30th. So that's, again, it's a shortened window that time, only 15 days. So we'll see. Do you think they'll factor in the spring game this time into like before the portal window or right earlier in the window? Because we were really, really late in the cycle last year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they will. They'll be very strategic about what they choose.
Yeah.
All right. I think we got a couple more here. Super chat. Thank you for the super chat from Black Order. What defensive help did the Buffs get? LB, OLB, safety, cornerback.
They've gotten quite a few. If you head on over to the DNVR.com, go to the Prime Tracker. I'm going to update this as soon as we're done with the show. I think I'm only missing 2 guys on there, but you can see everyone else that's been added.
And they've gotten all of the ones that you mentioned.
What do you mean?
Linebacker, outside linebacker, safety. Corner.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Last one, it looks like here from Travis. Maybe another one will trickle in here. But when will they start the Jumbotron install? I have no clue. It's a very off-season question, though.
They said it was going to be done by the start of the season this year. So we'll see. I don't know. I'll let you all know when I'm headed up there for some basketball games during conference play if I see any construction going on over there.
There you go. Corliss asks, is Juju still on the team? He actually officially entered the NFL draft, but I don't think he had any eligibility left anyway.
We never really found out what happened, right?
We sure did not. But I wish him the best. I'll tell you this, Neely loved him. He got to interact with him a lot, and he really liked him. So we're absolutely wishing the best for Juju. I wish we could have seen him play more.
For sure, man. Kind of what could have been this season. Obviously at a position of need, and he really solidified that position when he was in there and playing at a high level. So hopefully DJ Lundy can do that and more.
Yep, absolutely. All right. I think that's it.
Cool. Good show. Good to see you guys. I'll be remote again tomorrow, and then a little bit of moving around this week, but we've got 3 more shows coming your way.
Boom. Hit the like on your way out. Appreciate you guys. Let's go Buffs.
Go Buffs.
We all silly like the mayor.